Hi, this is Shane Starr on a beautiful December evening in South Orange County, California. This video is about another video I saw today on Eric Strauss's channel, Typing with Famous People. It is called Personality Manifesto and Cognitive Function Test Guide. Now, why is this important? Well, it's an interesting and important video because it tackles the problem of accurate typing, which anyone who knows me personally or otherwise has known that's been a common thread in my typing journey, is typing and retyping and then going back and forth. And again, this isn't because I don't know who I am or what I'm about. I haven't changed anything. What has changed is my understanding of how such qualities fit into a system, and out of the competing systems, which one is the best. And Eric's video, I was already having doubts. Eric's videos really blows the door open on this whole thing. He focuses on verifiable or falsifiable evidence, and that's something unique that I don't think anyone else is doing. Now, it's associated with traits, and traits are a four-letter word in the typology community. I don't know why, but I don't think they should be. Eric is onto something important by way of science, because what makes the difference between science and pure guesswork is, are these claims verifiable or are they falsifiable? And from what I gather, Eric, with his polar testing, has some verifiable and falsifiable claims. That is to say, if you're claiming that someone, is or is not a certain type, you can test for their polar function and see how they do, and you can either verify it, like, yes, this makes sense, or you can falsify it and say there's no way he or she could be a certain type because of their performance, whether it's good or bad, on such test. So again, I think Eric's system is unique in this aspect, and of course it's my channel, so I'm relating it to myself. How does this relate to me? My recent retyping journey, everything that I said and everything I experienced makes sense within the context of Jack Aaron's model. I understand why he types me the way he types me, and I understand why others who follow his system, like Porcupine Jason, for instance, I know he's in agreement with Jack. And I think the issue I have is that in such system, as magnificent as it is, there's nothing that can be falsified or verified, and in my personality in general, even as I gave into their interpretation, what in my personality goes with that type? Absolutely nothing. And I'm still not claiming that they're wrong. What I'm claiming is, when we think of typology and we think of personality tests and we think of how someone acts, they either fit in the box or they don't. Now, some people fit better than others. But if you're such an outlier that none of your personal qualities match with what that box supposedly contains, then there's a problem there. And there's no way to verify it. Every one of my qualities that I think makes me who I am, back when I was a little boy, putting my cars into categories based on color or type and lining them up in rows, and my OCD-ness, my punctuality, my attention to detail at work, the systematic way I arrange my papers or workflow at work, my attendance, not only at work, but for workouts, for church, all of these things in the socionic system, at least the world socionic system, are somehow still this type that is supposed to be kind of wild, spontaneous, unstructured, social, all these things that I'm not. And when I'm told, for instance, that I have 4-dimensional FE, and I think, okay, man, come on, let's go. I have 4D FE, man. I'm going to go out there and win everyone over. And I just fall flat on my face. And then I just run back to my systems and bring up my credibility with my attention to detail, because that's what I do best. And it's funny because what I'm trying to say here is that this grand turnaround that I featured on my channel, it's not working in real life. Do I feel confused? No. Do I feel sad or uneasy or any of that? No, because nothing has changed in my own self-perspective. I know, apart from typology, who I am and what I'm about and what qualities make me up. What, again, is that question is, what do such qualities fit in what type? How do my qualities equal a personality type? And some are going to fit better than others. So, if you have a punctual, reliable, systematic, OCD, attention to detail, very routinized person who's fearful of change and not very social, and you're telling me, yeah, that's an SEE, man, ESFP for sure. Maybe that makes sense to the experts. Maybe it still does make sense. But to everyone I work with, to everyone in my family, to everyone who knows me, when I tell them that, they're going like this, going, dude, I don't know what you're on, but I thought you were sober, It's not working, okay? So I would say, coming full circle, I would say this. Coming full circle again. In Eric's model, he has falsifiable claims. I passed the TI polar test quite easily. I didn't struggle with it. If you watch his video, I can answer, if all penguins eat bananas and I'm not a penguin, does that mean I don't eat bananas? No, because you might like them and you don't have to be a penguin. Those kinds of questions, if I can answer those clearly. And I've seen TI polar people take those same test questions and they fall flat on their face. They don't get it, even when they're otherwise smart. At least in Eric's system, this would exclude that type. And I haven't seen such a test in anyone else's system. So as it stands now, I would say my previous retyping, it's either obsolete or perhaps it's just wrong. And perhaps I was wrong to rethink it. I think what I mean by just wrong is pretty clear. What do I mean by obsolete? Let me give you two examples, one of my own and one of someone else. Rafael Nadal is one of the best tennis players of all time. He is a famous left-handed tennis player from Spain who's won more Grand Slams than anyone in the world except for Novak Djokovic, who's still playing. The funny thing about Rafael is that he's naturally right-handed, and his father at an early age taught him how to play tennis with his left hand. Now, if we were in the MCU multiverse and Rafael Nadal right-handed played against Rafael Nadal left-handed, the Rafael left-handed version would blow the right-handed one right off the court. Does that mean he's really left-handed, or does it mean he's really right-handed and just practiced enough to fool everyone who doesn't know better to think he's left-handed. I think it doesn't matter. What I think is that for all intents and purposes, he's left-handed. If I'm a professional tennis player playing against him, I have to prepare for a left-handed player. I have to think of the angles what a left-handed player plays. If I'm his coach, I have to adjust to him being a left-handed player rather than a right-handed player. But, and the pun is intended here, cognitively speaking, he's right-handed. So let's just go back to Wikipedia and change it to right-handed. He's a right-handed player who happens to play with his left hand. He's really good with his left. He could still be a right-handed player, but he plays with his left hand. That's what it sounds like when I'm trying to tell people I'm an ESFP, and I'm kind of sick of it already. It isn't working. It didn't work right away, but I stuck with it. Didn't want to just keep going back and forth, but I just can't do it anymore. Another situation, I did those 23andMe ancestor DNA tests, and I'm 100% European, and most of my DNA is from Scotland and Ireland. It's the DNA code is RL1066. Interesting stuff. Haplogap 5. Yeah, it's 1066. Anyway. So I guess I'm British, right? Because technically speaking, if we're being real scientific about it, technically speaking, I'm from the UK. That's my DNA's UK, so I'm English, correct? I mean, what's more truer than DNA, the very structure of my cells? I am English. But for all intents and purposes, am I English? Should I put that I'm English on my LinkedIn profile? Should I put that on my applications or on my Instagram or any of that stuff, or on my YouTube channel? No. For all intents and purposes, I'm American. Okay? So in the same vein as Rafael Nadal, and in the same vein as my DNA example, I think if it looks like a rose, it smells like a rose, it is a rose. And I'm not going to continue with the overly technical jargon that not only trips up myself, but trips up others when I'm trying to introduce them to typing. I still think Socionics is a great system. I don't take back the things I said about it. I just think that I'm either so brilliant, which I don't think I am, but I must be such a mature version of an SEE that I no longer look anything like that type, or I am simply not that type. All right? I'm not even claiming what type I might be, but I rewatch the Socionics videos and even their own descriptions. I'm like thinking, a certain place in time, somehow, some way, I looked like a certain type of person, and then once those hooks were in, anything else that happened, no matter how much different from that initial determination it somehow got subsumed and reinterpreted into that original conclusion. And I try to make that work personally. It's like I said, it's just not working. Am I confused about who I am? No. Am I confused about my type? No. I'm not gonna make some bold claim right now, but there's nothing wishy-washy or confusing about this for me personally. It looks like it to some of my critics, I'm sure, but that's fine. Think what you want, really. I don't care that much. What I do care about is getting things correct and getting them right, no matter how embarrassing it is, no matter how many times I have to switch types or whatever. I'm not really switching anything. I'm just switching a description of something that's constant and stable and rock solid. That's me. All right. Have a good one. That's all I got for tonight. Peace out.